So I really didn't think that this was possible, but the right-wing attacks on Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez are getting more dumb and even more desperate by the day. Now, as you'll recall, last week, Fox News decided to poor shame her because she dared to complain about how difficult it was to get an apartment in Washington, D.C. before her congressional salary kicked in. But this week, a right-wing propagandist for the Washington Examiner is calling into question whether or not she's actually struggling as much as she says she is, because he tweeted this out saying, quote, "Hill staffer sent me this pic of Ocasio-Cortez they took just now. I'll tell you something, that jacket and coat don't look like a girl who struggles." So can we just take a moment to applaud Eddie Scari's skills here, because he's really breaking new ground when it comes to investigative journalism in America. So congratulations, Eddie. You are truly putting in the time and effort to prove that you care about the issues, that you're going to get to the bottom of the biggest scandals in America. So as you can see, they are calling into question whether or not she's actually struggling, but hold. Because we also got back to poor shaming her again, because CNBC and other outlets reported on her personal finances, believe it or not, and how she only has about $7,000 in savings. Yeah, this is a new scandal. So they go from poor shaming her to saying she's not really poor, back to poor shaming her. How about this? Rather than looking into her personal finances, maybe that time would be better spent looking into the finances of, I don't know, the President of the United States. Just about a month ago, the New York Times released an expose confirming that he committed tax fraud. So the fact that that seems to be getting less play than Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's personal finances is honestly baffling to me. But if you think it's stupid for them to focus on her personal finances, well, don't worry, because they're going to move on to a different criticism. They're going to criticize her for misspeaking, because as the Daily Wire's Ryan Saavedra points out, socialist Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez misspoke. So this is a huge scandal. Let's go ahead and watch it so we can see this epic fail in action.
Is that should we, and if we work our butts off to make sure that we take back all three chambers of Congress, all three chambers of government, the presidency, the Senate, and the House in 2020, we can't start working in 2020.
Wow, what a total loser she is for misspeaking. I mean, who misspeaks? What human misspeaks? Aren't we all perfect? Now, thankfully, he correctly points out that the three branches of government include the executive, legislative, and judicial branches. Good job. Thank you so much, Ryan. Had you not pointed that out, I wouldn't have known what the three branches of government are. Now, what I just find hilariously ironic is that these are the same people who say nothing about Donald Trump and all of his gaffes, and they like to lambaste Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez seemingly because she's unintelligent. Fox News made the same criticism, while they support a president who literally speaks at a fucking 4th grade level. And aside from that, he tends to say things like this from time to time.
I was with the president of Finland, and he said, we have a much different, we're a forest nation. He called it a forest nation. And they spend a lot of time on raking and cleaning and doing things, and they don't have any problem. And when it is, it's a very small problem. So I know everybody's looking at that, to that end, and it's going to work out.
Amazing.
Care to decipher that for us, Ryan? Care to tell us what Trump is talking about there? You see, the problem with these MAGA chuds is that any and all gaffes that Ocasio-Cortez makes, they're the biggest scandals ever. But when Donald Trump says something stupid, then let's go ahead and just not talk about it. Now, what's funny is that this became a big enough scandal that the former governor of Alaska and vice presidential candidate Sarah Palin, of all people, wrote an entire article about it on her website and poked fun at Ocasio-Cortez for, quote, fumbling basic civics twice in one statement. But coming from Sarah Palin, this is a little bit awkward, and I think that the first reply pretty much nails it. Name 10 states.
The man can only ride you when your back is bent.
So strengthen it. Strengthen it.
But believe it or not, that's not even the dumbest attack on Ocasio-Cortez, because we're going to reach peak stupidity when a Fox News host releases an investigative report about how Ocasio-Cortez has an Amazon wish list. I'm not making this up. Now let me explain. So as you all know, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is one of the few politicians in America that's speaking out against New York giving Amazon tax incentives to put one of their 2 new headquarter locations in their state. Now, what Fox News did is say, well, since she is an Amazon customer and has an Amazon wish list, well, then she's a hypocrite for criticizing Amazon. This is what they say specifically. And when we come back, you're going to see why it's so stupid and nonsensical.
More on a bit of hypocrisy.
Yes, good morning. There are a lot of politicians opposing the deal with Amazon coming here to New York City. Politicians like Senator Kirsten Gillibrand and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. But according to the New York Post, records show that both of their campaigns, in fact, use Amazon to order thousands of dollars in supplies. According to the Post, Ocasio-Cortez, her campaign spent about $10,000 in supplies on Amazon, also had an Amazon wish list, while Senator Gillibrand used about $2,000 to buy supplies on Amazon. Now, a spokesperson for Ocasio-Cortez told the Post that it isn't inconsistent for her to be an Amazon customer while opposing the, quote, corporate welfare, rather.
Interesting.
Yes.
You got her. Owned.
Got him.
Wow. It's difficult for me to fathom that people think that Fox News is actual news. Now, as Parker Malloy points out on Twitter, this is basically a Matt Bohr's comic come to life, because they're essentially arguing that if you participate in society, you're not allowed to criticize society. But this is not an argument that serious people make. We live in a capitalist system where exploitation is embedded into the system itself. You can't not participate in exploitation if you buy anything from the private market in a capitalist system. So, if you couldn't tell by now, they are grasping for straws here. They are looking for any and every reason they possibly can find to attack Ocasio-Cortez. And what is the underlying implication? Why exactly are they so hell-bent on destroying Ocasio-Cortez? Well, it's obvious. She poses a threat to them politically. Because Ocasio-Cortez, she has so much enthusiasm and momentum behind her that you can't not see her as a threat. She's the future. She's bold. She supports policies that are populist, that most Americans support. A federal jobs guarantee, legalizing marijuana nationwide, increasing the minimum wage, Medicare for all. These are policies that the American people support. So if you see that, you see the excitement and the energy around her, then obviously you're going to see how that poses an existential threat to you politically. So what do they do in response? Exactly what we expected them to do. Attack her and lash out. But what you're hearing are cries from dinosaurs who are realizing that their breed of politics is going extinct. And what we're witnessing is them trying to grapple with that fact. And really what we're seeing is cognitive dissonance, because they're trying to imply that, oh, she's so stupid, she's so dumb, when in actuality they know that the opposite is true and they know that she's a threat. Hence why they keep doing everything they can to smear her. So keep it up, because you're giving me content, and I like making fun of these idiotic right-wingers who think that they're somehow being clever for criticizing her for misspeaking or wearing a certain coat. I mean, it's comical at this point.
Support this podcast by becoming a patron at patreon.com/Humanist Report.